In Inazuma 11, stats have always played a pivotal role in how matches played out, from commandos to how fast you can maneuver the pitch. Each stat played its part for its set role and provided some sort of perceptible value. Think back to the first time in your first Inazuma 11 game where you could go toe to toe with the extreme teams. It was, and still is, a great feeling. So now it can't be just me who feels this way, but in the Victory Road beta, why does stats feel so less impactful? The first thing that comes to mind is how drastic of a change the gameplay has undergone. Commandos don't really exist anymore, instead we have focus battles and scramble battles. A scramble is initiated when two players from opposing teams are near the landing position of a pass. They will then fight over who gets possession of the ball. If you're on the attacking end, intelligence and physical stats boost your AT. If you're on the defending end, intelligence and pressure boost your defense. But based on the title of this video, you know damn well that's not all. There is a timing based minigame you need to partake in as well. And to this day I still have zero fucking clue what the hell the timing is for this shit. To tie this back to the point, regardless of how much you dominate the opponent stats wise here, you can just lose the interaction anyway due to RNG, the minigame, or something else we're gonna get into later. The same thing goes for focus battles too, but you're most likely familiar with them already. And this has got to be one of the most bullshit mechanics I've come across in a very long time, especially on offense, cause half the time the defending player just can't do shit. Yapping aside, for those of you wondering, Focus Battle AT is the sum of your technique and your control stat, and Focus Battle Defense is the sum of your technique stat and your intelligence stat. These minigames happen countless times during a match, leading to the vast majority of your interactions being determined by luck and RNG, which can leave a really awful impression on a player. To put this into perspective, during the Haizaki goalkeeper stream we did, we were cooking level 30 teams with a level 9 Tachimakai.
Oh my goodness!
Due to these mini-games allowing us to overcome the massive level gap. And for me personally, this is extremely confusing. Level 5 said that they wanted this game to be competitive and basically an esport. But all of this mini-game RNG stuff combined leads to it feeling more like a party game than a game that could even be taken a little bit seriously competitively, especially compared to the mainline games of the past. It's very contradictory. That's like me saying I want to eat an apple and then just shoving it out my butt. But that's not even where the RNG ends. Far from it. Super tactics. These are ridiculously strong one-time use tactics that are randomly given to you at the start of the match, as well as randomly during the match after winning focus battles and scramble battles. And a lot of these are just straight up game breaking. Take Sweeping Wind for example. This tactic makes it so that you literally cannot lose a focus or scramble battle, and this shit lasts 30 seconds. In what world is that balanced? I mentioned that stats are less impactful in this game, but this straight up makes stats irrelevant, and there is very minimal counterplay to this. You either have to pass out, go for a Hisatsu, or use the charging sprint to avoid the interaction altogether. And none of these are guaranteed to even be beneficial for you. And that's because passing out drains a portion of your tension and gives it to them, and there are passives that increase that drain, so you're still fucked there. And using a Hisatsu isn't even a great counter, since they can just go for a power move or a Hisatsu of their own, and due to Sweeping Wind being active, you'll 100% lose the clash. And charging at such a ridiculously high foul rate that it's not even a real counter, breaking your switch is an equally effective counter. Furthermore, I mentioned that you can get more super tactics through winning focus and scramble battles, and this tactic guarantees you win those encounters. You can burst down the enemy team and get lucky with drops to receive explosion or power direct and just overpower the opposing keeper. Or you could do the same, but defensively. What the fuck are we doing here? This super tactic and many more cripples teams and strategies and makes how a player reacts, as well as the choices they make, completely irrelevant. Again, how is this supposed to be taken seriously competitively? Don't get me wrong, Inazuma 11 has never been a balanced or serious experience competitively. Just look at all the videos I've made yapping about stuff before, especially this one I did with Haku. But those games were not built with a competitive scene in mind. This one is, yet they've made these decisions, and it feels like they just didn't think much of this through well enough or even at all. Negatives aside, there is a positive to stats being less impactful, but this comes with quite a large negative and is also further enabled by another negative, so Matches are less formulaic, which also adds more variety and surprises to the gameplay experience, making it overall less boring and more engaging on a casual level. Everything we've mentioned before, plus this, makes the playing field a lot more level, so potentially anyone can win. This is a beta test. There are going to be plenty of new players wanting to try out this series. Them having no hope of winning due to being stomped the fuck out every match isn't a great experience, and it's probably going to make them drop the series or even hate it. But them having the potential to win drastically reduces the chances of that. And before people start saying some dumb shit, hypothetically speaking, a level 1 team could beat a level 30 team. In practice, that shit would be ridiculously hard, but it's possible, which I'm pretty sure has led to a big issue with this beta, but we'll get back to that in a moment, since we have a more pressing issue to consider right now. If you haven't been living under a rock for the past month and a bit, you're most likely aware that the new breach mechanic has the community collectively losing their shit. And I'm not gonna lie, if something ain't done about it before the full game releases, it's only gonna get worse from here. Worse to the point where the game might be borderline unbearable. I know they're nerfing it and shit like that, but I highly doubt that what they've implemented is gonna be enough. Breach is Victory Road's equivalent of a critical hit, but on 2 kilograms of fucking fentanyl. The way it works is, if a player takes a shot and it lands a breach chance, then regardless of how weak the shot is, it will just go in. Now let's apply this to our point. If the player on offense has a shot with an AT value of 1, and the goalkeeper has a defensive value of 9 billion, the shot will just go in. Your stats don't fucking matter in the face of breach. There is a defensive counterpart to this called save, but you can build around breach to drastically increase your chances of landing it. As of right now, you can't do shit with saves, and due to this being a beta test, we have no clue if it's even going to be possible to build around it in the full game. You're starting to see the problem, right? Breach is flawed on such a fundamental level that it makes everything feel pointless. Why don't I just increase my defender's power on castle walls to prevent the ball from even reaching the goal? Objection! Nah, that's probably not gonna work, because on some of the breach players and on the optimal breach team, there is a passive that just allows shots to piss through that shit. Why? Because fuck you, that's why. Why not run max KP gauge reduction? Objection! Breach completely ignores that shit. I want to min-max my frontline, construct a team with great passives and the best items, so I just breach. Why not just breach? As I mentioned before, breach just makes everything feel pointless. It discourages creativity and reduces variety as well. In the team building and testing streams we do, I refuse to use breach plays, because it just trivializes everything and would make the whole theme and point of the teams pointless. Previously, to increase your crit chance, you had to sacrifice some of your character's freedom stat. As a result, this made their damage output potential lower. There is zero drawback to increasing your breach rate. I've been crying about breach for a while now, and I promise you I could cry about it for a while more, but I previously mentioned that since stats are less impactful, anyone is capable of winning, and this comes with a large drawback. And that's that ranked fucking sucks because of it. Don't get me wrong, ranked sucks in most games, but this game's ranked is one of the worst I've seen in a very long time. It's literally just breach teams and rage quits. This is just a beta, which is important to keep in mind, but having a level system in ranked is diabolical, especially when there's absolutely no matchmaking of any kind to be seen. And I doubt this is ever going to change for the reasons I've mentioned before. Since stats are less impactful, hypothetically anyone can win. So why should they bother with matchmaking if the possibility of either side winning is always there? And I'll tell you why, it's because of new player experience and player retention. I've been quite negative for most of this video, so I'm going to end on some positives here. And these are going to be character based positives, some of the characters I quite like actually. Firstly, this little guy here, Endor Cannon. He's either been aggressively mid or just straight fucking buns in every mainline game he's been in. It's probably still going to be the case in this game, but since stats matter less in this game, he could possibly be a very nice pick depending on his passives. And if he still sucks despite this, then I'm still going to use him though. Next character, Megane Hakuryuu, also known as Woody Glass, is probably gonna be a genuinely viable pick. So hear me out. In every mainline game, he has a gimmick of having a ridiculously high luck stat, as well as learning one of the strongest moves in that game. If they keep that gimmick going in Victory Road, then this guy might be the new king. Imagine him having full breach passives to tie into the luck stat, and then fucking, I don't know, Victory Line or Fire Lemonade Rising or something crazy like that. But yeah, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and fuck breach.